Chapter 14, Section 3 discusses the roles of RNA. RNA is, as you know, important in helping in DNA replication and protein synthesis. And a particle that was discovered not too long ago, about the 1980s, by a man named Thomas Cech, is called a ribozyme. And what it is, an RNA catalyst, so something that will speed up reactions, that is found in some unicellular organisms, and they're able to promote their own replication. So it was thought that maybe life could have started with some of these self-replicating RNAs, which then, later combined to make larger molecules. Some of the first life forms that there's been evidence found of were prokaryotes, which are about 3.5 billion years old. Prokaryotes, if you recall, do not have a nucleus. They're unicellular. And the first ones must have been chemosynthetic and anaerobic. Anaerobic meaning that there was not oxygen available for them. And then chemosynthetic meaning that they process their own foods from some of the inorganic chemicals that were present then. Then later we have prokaryotes that are photosynthetic and aerobic. So as more oxygen became available, they were able to change into aerobic organisms and then photosynthesize to make food from the sun. And then finally eukaryotes came around later, about 1.5 to 2 billion years ago. And those ones, if you recall, are a little bit more complex than the prokaryotes. They have a true nucleus, they have membrane-bound organelles, and they can also make up multicellular organisms. The concept of endosymbiosis is also introduced in this chapter. And basically, endosymbiosis is a mutually beneficial relationship where one organism lives inside another organism. So what the idea is that there possibly were two independent bacteria that we started with, one larger, one smaller. The larger one engulfed the smaller one, and the smaller one then in turn provided the larger one with some energy, and the larger one provided protection and stability for the smaller one. So they both benefited from this relationship. And as they divided, went through binary fission to make more, this bacteria that was inside of it now has been replicated through the binary fission process and gets copied into each new cell, thus making a more complex eukaryotic cell. Some of the first ones that they think that might have happened with that were organelles such as mitochondria and chloroplasts, because they both have their own DNA, which they're the only organelles to have their own DNA. So they are potentially structures that could live on their own, okay, since they have that DNA to provide their cell with that particular set of instructions or codes for surviving.